Hello, I'm Chris and this is a build for emodels.co.uk, and this is the real grade MS-06F Zaku II. I don't know what any of the numbers or letters mean. I don't know anything about Gunpla or Zakus or anything like that, so we'll be learning as we go. The box itself is a normal Bandai box, nice bright artwork, lots of that bit out of the way. Lots of Japanese stuff all over it. Now, this being an RG, a real grade, means it's got an internal frame that the armour then sort of goes over the outside of. So it's going to be quite interesting. I've done a Gundam before, but only one of the master grades, which are the more entry level. So this being the better version is going to be quite interesting. It's got, so obviously fully posable on there as well, different weapon options, different hand options as well. So yeah, let's have a look and see what's in the box, and then we'll go from there. We've obviously got the instruction manual. Now, there are some extra things in this box. When I went to grab this from eModels, I picked up the paints for it as well. Now, the paints I'm going to be using on this are the fairly new Mecha Colour range, which I've got as a variation of greens and steels and metallics as well. There you go, 3 different greens: deep green, light green, olive green. I've got steel and dark steel. I'm also going to be using some gunmetals and things like that, but I've already got those, so I didn't bother picking those up. Right, the bits itself, there's a couple of metal pins. Lots of these Zaku beads, which apparently are really horrible to do, so they'll be fun. We'll get on with those. Lots of sprues, lots of decals as well, lots of white numbers and letters and things. Another couple of sprues in there, all the different colours already, but obviously I will be painting this one. I don't know what any of these bits are, so it's going to be an interesting build. We've got definitely armour bits, and I can't see any frame bits that are jumping out at me as being frames, but we'll figure it out. So that's the kit. The instruction manual itself is, again, the traditional, same as always. These Bandai kits, very detailed, lots of very clear pictures and lots of Japanese text. So again, I don't read Japanese, as you might have guessed, so I'll have to figure it out, and I'll be using an app to translate the text as and when I need it. And also there's sources online that do have English translations of these apparently. I haven't been able to find one for this particular kit, but I'll continue to look and we'll see. Most of the translations seem to be things like cut here and don't do this and don't glue that and things like that. It seems to start, as most of these do, obviously basic instructions on how to cut, which I'll run through quickly while I'm doing it. Looks like, not sure if this is obviously not all of it, but there's 001 is down here. That seems to be the ankle unit. 2 and 3 are the legs, and we've got hands, and so it might just be the one sprue that is the inner frame. I'll have a look and see. Basically we start with the ankles and work our way up. Advanced MS joint. There's the occasional English highlight and word, but we'll figure it out. So yes, this is obviously showing, starting with the frame and building up the legs with the armour on as you go. I do understand that you should be able to basically build the frame and then put the armour on after, so I might play around with that and see if I can do that, because obviously that will be the easy way of painting it, is to do the frame as one piece and then paint the armour as it goes on. This is the beads, which, so you need to put on, cut down, sand down, and then have all manner of fun with. Go around arms and legs and waists. Different armour, weapon armour options, and then it shows you about the arms. yeah, head, mechanism, the different decals for different, depending if it's the Space Strike Fleet or the Earth Occupation Force. I don't know. I don't want an ice cream either, sorry, that was outside. Right, so the different guns, machine guns and Zaku bazookas, Heat Hawk. I'll have to find the story behind these, the cartoons. And the back page is about the decals, realistic decals apparently. So yeah, lots and lots of decals on these. Again, it's going to be dependent on which type you use as to which ones you use, whether it's white and black, or I'll have to figure out the translation and see that. It gives you the colour chart down there, which basically, again, is all in Japanese. Nice and helpful. So, I'm going to get the sprues out the bag, and we'll get started and see how far we get. See you in a moment. All the sprues, I've taken them out of the bags, basically, so there's no crinkly noises for you. Now, I don't recognise any bits at all. I recognise the beads because I've heard about them. Other than that, there's a bit that looks like a arm thing and the other shoulder, probably, maybe, ish. Looking at the sprues, it's quite easy to divide them into a couple of different bits. Let me give you a slightly wider view. There you go. How's that? I know you can't answer, but you know. Right, so we have basically 3 different greens. There's a slightly paler green, normal sort of rich green. Actually, there's 4 greens. That's slightly different to that. There's a very lighter one. There's a mid one between them and a darker one, and obviously the sort of bluey and transparent. So we've got what I consider to be armour pieces over there. So I'm not worrying about those at the moment. I'm going to put them in the box. I'm that confident that I don't need them at the moment. We've got basically 4 other sprues, which I think are probably the armour pieces and weapons by the looks of this. This is probably some bits, but so my initial plan is basically not to throw away the instructions, but not to follow them that accurately. What I'm going to do is hopefully build the inner frame, so this bit, so it'll look like that, so I can get that built so it's articulated and, you know, looks good, and then I can worry about putting on the armour pieces afterwards. The instructions basically start at an ankle and build up from there. So I'm going to sort of work my way through the instructions. I have found the English translation of them. So where it's got, you know, don't do this, I don't know what that means, but I've got the English instruction elsewhere to go back and make sure. So pretty much I think I'm going to be putting on the bits that aren't green as the inner frame, and then I can paint and get that ready to go, and then worry about putting the armour on over the top of it. So that's the initial planning. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm starting with the right leg, which is part number 1. B. I don't know why B1, but you know, I thought you'd start with an A, but anyway, we're starting with B1. So I'll move those out of the way for now. Now, with every build, it always starts the same. You've got sprues of pieces that you need to remove from the sprues. Now I'm using a pair of these Zuron nippers, which aren't terribly expensive, but they're not cheap either. They're not, you know, rubbish throwaway ones. Basically, it means I can actually get in quite close to the part itself directly from the sprue without stressing and causing problems to the part itself most of the time. They're pointy enough to get into where you need to get into, and they're sharp enough that they actually do the cutting, so without much pressure. So it sort of does itself. I'm not sure exactly where that bit is. Let's see. Cut there, cut there, cut there. So that bit there, not the curvy bit. So we go across there as well. So that is the first part removed. Now there will be, say, some sanding necessary. So basically just by lightly going over and getting rid of the nubs where I've just cut them off. Being that this is the inner frame, I'm not overly concerned about how it looks. It's more a case of making sure that the bits that I've cut aren't going to foul on anything else. Just about getting there with that. Now this bit, I say, obviously you just see me cut off the sprue, but it's actually got articulated bits on it. So there's a bit there that twists like that, and another bit there that twists. So although it's come on the sprue, it's actually, and that goes up and locks up in there. It's actually articulated on the sprue, which is really nice. I think that's it. It looks like a ball joint there as well. Yeah, that's like the ankle ball joint moves on there. Doesn't feel like that is the one at the top there though. But so that's that. I'm going to get some more of these done. So pretty sure that C is going to be a different colour. That's going to be a different sprue. So I need the E sprue, which I did have. It was one of these. There we go. That's the E sprue. Not electronic, just it's got an E on it. So I need say 6, 7, 29 and 30, which I'll find, cut off and get attached on. So let's find them now while you're here. I'm obviously not going to be filming absolutely every part of this build throughout. There's 7. And these are although they're still part of the inner frame, they're a little bit more visible. There's some more details on there that hopefully are coming out on the camera. Let's see, I'm actually on shot. Yep. Which once I come to do some painting, I'll be picking out some of the detail on there. Now most of this is probably, almost certainly in fact, going to be covered by the armour, but it's still nice to give it a grounding. So that will be going which way around? That way around, up there somewhere. Is it that way around? Let's keep turning it around. It's definitely number 7 that I just cut off. So yeah, that way around. So it's actually cut out to fit around one particular bit of that. Something like that. And 6 will obviously go on the other side and hold that in place. So let's get that one done live on air, and then I'll go back off camera and do a bit more. So just getting the rough edges taken down off there. This is all going to be primed and done in more of a gunmetal. So yeah, this bit's got more side pieces and obviously a big blob there that's going to line up with that big blob there. So we get that together like that. So yeah, I'm going to get a few more bits of this done. Basically anything that's the coloured bit I'm not going to be putting on quite yet, and we'll come and find out how that works very soon. There we go, that's all the outer bits clipped onto the leg. I went ahead and got one more bit, the foot piece, so that needs to go on there. I figured without that he's not going to stand up. The foot piece is actually very nice. It's actually articulated. It's got toes and a middle bit that moves, so you can really pose quite a lot. Also there is a knee. It just didn't look like there was one on the bit, but it's actually got two parts of articulation on the knee there, so you can move the top bit or the bottom bit, which moves this whole front panel up as well. So you've actually got the ankle ball joint moves in any direction. Obviously this is going to attach to the waist. There were a couple of bits I've not put on the armour frame pieces outside, but other than that, that's actually come together really nicely. And that as itself, as it stands built like that, should be paintable. So a coat of primer, and then I can get on and pick out some detail on there before doing that more in a gunmetal. I'm going to be having it in a fixed pose, although I'm not sure exactly what the fixed pose is going to be yet, so we need to work on that. But yeah, I'm going to get on and get the other leg done exactly the same, so I won't film any of that, and then we'll see about working up the body. Assuming it's going to work the same way as that leg has, then I should be able to have a inner frame done in this episode, basically. So yeah, as promised, we've got the two legs completed. Basically they're mirror image of each other, so top bit's curled in that way on that one and that way on the other, and that's that. So those two are getting there. The waist piece is actually only 2 bits. It isn't, it's got lots of bits that go on the front. So there's an interior piece that goes on there, and then there's like a side skirt piece, and then onto the top piece there's 2 other side skirt pieces, but they're the ones that are going to be armour and coloured, so we're just using these at the moment. It says this is how it came off the sprue, but you can actually separate it by twisting and pulling it apart. So it actually does say to do that for a couple of the pieces, a couple of the stages. This bit has got a little bit sticking out, which is the front, and that bit has the more rounded piece as the front. So we've got that on there. This one says to rotate the 2 sides. Again, this is just how it comes off the sprue. Rotate the 2 sides 180 degrees. I don't know why. I don't know why it is made that way rather than the other way up. But and then holding them that way round, these pivot down. And again, these are the bits that the extra skirt pieces will be fitting onto. So actually this does need to come apart, because that goes on there first. It goes on there, and then that locks in the place above, that way around, like that. So we've basically got the 4 points around for the skirt pieces to fit onto. It's probably not a skirt, but you know, it looks like a skirt. And then the legs just snap in either side of that. So we have, let's say, legs and a waist ready for the body to go onto there. So we've got a ball joint there that's got a bit of articulation, and there's a bit of movement there as well, and obviously the legs will go hinged out and forwards and back with full articulation in the knees, ankles, and even the feet. So you can get some pretty good movement out of those with him still standing upright. So there we go. The next bit in the instructions is the arm, or the arms, but I'm going to skip those to do the body unit, because obviously that's the next part to build onto the framework itself. So we'll get the body done, and then the arms. Again, there's going to be one main part in there. There's a few other sub-assemblies to snap onto that, but not the outer framework. So I'll get the parts ready for that, and then come back and show you that being built. That's the bits for the next stage, cut off, sanded and sorted out. It tells you quite nicely with the colours what bits to remove, so hopefully you don't get the wrong bits. So that comes off of there, and then holding it that way up, that bit goes in there. And all these bits that move that just come off one piece of the sprue is quite impressive. That goes in the front of that. None of this, you notice, I'm gluing in place. wonder what there's the other side. Strange, I thought that would have been on there as well, but we'll figure that out. None of this has been glued in place. In theory, I should be able to remove all of these bits if I need to. In practice, some of them are going to be a bit tough, but we'll work on it. Now these bits are actually from the arms, which I've skipped, so I'm not going to put those on yet, but I don't think it'll make a difference because I'm also not putting on the frame casing. So around there we've got this bit which goes over there. Oh, that's what goes in the other side, the bit of that holds in place, I think. Or maybe not. No, that's the middle bit of that holds that in place there. So no, actually I can't do that because then I can't get the arm bits on. So I'm going to go back and get the arm pieces. But while I'm here, I will mention, you know, I said they leave the colours, as in cut away these bits, you don't need them, and then it shows you this bit with the same colour. This actually says be careful not to cut that bit off, so you've got to make sure you leave that side panel on because that's where the sprue attaches. So you've got to leave that on, even though it's the same colour as the bit that it tells you to take off. So that I will slide back off in a moment, but I'm just going to continue on briefly and see if I can get an idea how the rest of this is going to go back together and how it's going to look. Let's turn that round and it looks like that. Oh, there we go, that might be a helpful picture. From there, like that. Oh, that goes on the front there. Which side? Not that side. It's still got to be that side. So it must be before you put that on there. This little symbol here says click. So it basically just means push it in place. So oh yeah, that goes on there first into that little notch ready for it. Click, just like it said on the instructions. Sort of, yeah. So there we go, that's that bit. Then that will go on once I've got the top bits of the arms on. So they're like chest panels. So they are technically outside pieces, but we'll worry about that as we go. So that's a later stage. Goes on to some of the panel pieces and then goes on, so I don't need that bit either. And that goes on the top, which isn't a problem. Then we have some bits of these that will go together on there. That's the side, and this must be where the other bits attach. So no idea, little thrusters or something probably. Again, I don't know what these bits are. So that goes on to the back of that, but after the casing framework has gone on. So that bit I'm not going to be able to do quite yet. Get it the right way up as well. Yeah, I haven't actually got the bits that it attaches onto because that's the outer framework, so I'll leave that to one side as well. And I'll take off that bit and that bit and even that bit actually, the bit that clicked in, because that's an exterior piece I think. So I'll leave that to one side for a moment. Let's just have a flick over the page. Yeah, I think I can't attach this to the other bit because why doesn't that attach? I think the outer framework is what attaches that. No, it can't be. It can't go onto there, but that might be a bit you don't actually need. Maybe. I'll have to go through and look at the translations and make sure I haven't skipped a bit by doing the not doing the arms. I know I've obviously missed the first bit where this end piece is actually, let's say, the little part mark F and D need to be attached, so I'll have to take them off the screws and do them. So I might do the arms now anyway. Yeah, that's showing that without the bit on the top. It does say it comes apart, but it doesn't say you have to take it apart. So that seems to be a bit that's not used. Then when you come to putting them together, it just shows it with the empty top piece. So it must be without that. That will go in there. Yeah. So we can do some of the framework and then build up around it, I think. So that's the body assembled there, although I've got lots of bits left over to build it up. It's sort of covering armour pieces, so I'm going to leave that to one side. I'm going to do the arms and then the head. Yeah, so showing this piece, it shows that front piece but not the interior piece, not that bit. So that will go on there after I've got the arms on. And that shows just the interior frame, which is quite a good place to call it a day. So I'm going to go and do the arms. I'll put those pieces that I've already cut off safe and start building up the arm unit. Again, just the interior pieces. I'll do one and then show you one. And then we'll get the arms attached to the body. I don't know how much of the head is actually a armour piece. It doesn't look like very much. It's just because obviously most of it's a big shell. So right, arms it is in a moment. Right, the arms haven't got very many bits. Well, they are, but they're all attached. When you get the arm off the sprue, it looks a bit like that. And there are two little nub bits that need to be removed from inside, just like that. And then you've got these two loose bits which actually click in to the body itself. Oh, a little bit harder than that. And that bit is removed. Don't need that bit. And then that actually becomes an articulated arm. If you bend it the right way. And those bits are actually attached into the grooves itself, so it actually works really well. It says to take off the hand, so we'll do that. And these other two bits are actually two separate pieces. That's the twist in it. That's the one that I needed for the body. So put that to one side, and that is again a cap over there, which we can't put on quite yet. So we've got that now in its basic form. There's two little bits there that go over it, which just snap in sort of like a elbow and inside of the elbow, which go on there like that, which gives it more of a bit more body when it's bending. And then we have the top sort of shell that pops onto there. I should mention this is the left arm that I'm doing. I've done the right one. Then the bit that we've just taken off goes back on there. That sort of holds that in place there. Must be that way around because that's how the arm attaches. That can go back on there as well, like that. And the hand will go back on there also. There are a couple of hand variations with different palms, and you've actually got extra bits to put onto there. But again, they're armour pieces. All the hands can be pulled off. It's not a problem to do that in a bit. So that's the two arms good to go. So I'm going to put those where they should go. Onto there. Then I can just put the outer piece on without the interior armour piece that I'm going to keep safe for later. So that goes on there. Decided we couldn't do anything else with that because that doesn't actually attach to there. It attaches to the outer shell piece, which I haven't done yet. Actually, sorry, I put that the wrong way around. That's twisted round. That's the back. So that's actually the front. Probably that way around as well. I thought that didn't go on there properly. So I've got these arms on backwards. Just as well you can just pull them off and put them back where you need them, isn't it? So that's the correct way round for his arms, left and right, and he knows his left from his right. And then that is on the front. Because that spiky bit there locates into that hole in the middle. If you get it lined up properly, and if you get the arm pushed on properly. There we go. That's that. So as I was saying, this hasn't got the locating bits to go onto there yet, because it goes onto the other bit. So knocking both of those young bits off of it, I'll put them back with it. We'll put that back on in a moment, or after we've done the outside. So that is, let's say, the body. There are lots and lots of articulation in this, so I'll be able to get it into whichever pose I really want for the little diorama that I've got in mind, sort of. So that's the body unit, mostly. The head unit actually looks like quite a lot of it is armour, but there must be an interior piece that's just that, probably these D bits I think. I'll get those sorted out and get the head on, and then we'll see about some painting. Right, I think there's only 3 bits of the head that I can assemble as is without having to worry about the paints and the colours. The main body of it is that bit, and then we've got these 2, if I can get the right way around, which that goes into there. I think. No, that way around and that way around. There we go. That clicks into there, that's why it's not just going in, it's got to take a little bit of clickage. No. Okay. Sure about that, and then you turn it over. Right, let's make sure I've got this the right way around. That's that, and that's those 2. Ah, right, I'm pushing it too far back. That goes over those, not the spike, and then it flicks in. That's why I'm looking at that bit. So that goes on that way round, and then it rotates round like that. And that is what goes up through the neck, and that is what gives the head some rotation. On top of that, there is one bit that I can do on there, which rotates. That just about comes out on camera there. As you turn that bit rotates, so you've got to get that on centrally. So it makes the head eye, which is a little decal on another little bit that I'm not putting on yet, obviously, on there. So that will sit on there. If I wonder if I can put that bit on there. Yeah, that'll go on there just a little bit, and that'll go on there. So we have basically completed the inner frame. Yeah, it doesn't say to put it on until after that, but we haven't been following the instructions that closely anyway. So we have an inner frame, which when we turn the head That little eyepiece turns more than we're turning it, which is really quite nice. Oh, and I've just knocked it off. Let's get it central again, get that on, obviously with the outside cover piece on top of that. That's going to make it stay much nicer than this. I'll keep an eye on that while I'm doing things. We've got arms, all shoulders, and lots of movement there. The waist, the hips, and the legs, knees, ankles, and toes. So, yeah, that's the inner frame. I'm going to get this primed, as is, with the extra bits that I know will have to be part of it eventually, but not so much the parts that are going to be exterior. They will be primed, and I'll do them now anyway, but I'm making a point of keeping them separate because I haven't done them yet. That is obviously not used, that's like a stopper piece. So all in all, I'm happy so far. It's come out quite well. I'm very happy with the way the frames come together. It's very finely engineered, so there's lots of scope for different positioning. However you want it to be, you could have it sitting down, almost ballerina pose. So I'm going to get that primed, as I say before, I'll say it again, and then we'll see about getting it painted in, say, sort of dark greys, gunmetal, that sort of thing. I'll figure out the pose as well, because I sort of need to do that with the armour on, but I'll get an idea. Basically I'm going to be having it standing, obviously, holding whatever gun, obviously, with one foot up on a uneven terrain, sort of like that. You can't see it properly, but that's sort of posing. So that's sort of what I'm aiming for, and we'll see how it turns out. So I'll get it primed and then come back and show you some painting. That's it primed. I've gone with a light grey primer, just because it's convenient and sort of neutral. Now I'm going to use the Mecha Colour Dark Steel on this inner frame. I've not used it before. I don't know exactly what colour it's going to turn out, so we'll have a look and see. But I figure that was a base colour for all of the interior framework, and then I can highlight with, say, steel, and I've got some gunmetal as well to do some brush painting of some bits. So I'm going to get it all covered in that, and then I'll come back with some say brushwork with some highlighting on it. I'm pretty sure none of this is going to be seen, but it's nice to know it's there, and it's all good practice anyway. So I'll see you when this is the right colour for some brush painting. This is the legs done in the dark steel, which has come out quite nicely. What I'm going to do now is just add some highlights, basically using the normal steel colour. Just going to be putting in some detail, so things like the tops of these giant screws and other areas. Just doing the big bits while I'm on camera because I can't get close enough to see the small detail without getting in the way of the shot. Basically just picking out bits here and there. Some of the larger pieces, I'll pick up some of the smaller screws, and I'm also going to do some in the darker gunmetal as well, just to add a little bit of variation to the look of it. So most of this is going to be covered up anyway, but there are bits that are going to stick out. The little thruster engine pieces here are definitely going to be visible as far as I can tell from the armour. So I'm just going to continue on and do that. What I did do while I was spraying it was make sure you manipulate it into different positions to make sure you cover all of it in the paint, the same as I did with the primer. So hopefully I haven't missed anything, and if I have, hopefully it will be covered by the bodywork anyway. So I'll carry on and get some more of that done. I'll make him stand up a bit while he's waiting. Obviously the other bits as well, the arms and the head assembly, and then we'll show you that when that's done and get some weathering on it. Going to do some dry brushing over the top to bring out some of the metallics, and that will be the frame done. So I'll see you in a short while, in a moment. I'll say in a moment. I keep saying see you in a moment in every segment. I'm going to make a point here. I'm not going to say it anymore. Much. Often. Sometimes. Right. Pretty much all the painting's done. I've also gone over with some other colours. You might have noticed some brassy bits that I've added in there. Actually copper colour. And some lighter steel. Actually silver, just to add a bit more interest there. It was all a bit samey, so there's a little bit here and there, sort of the joints and things like that. Again, I don't think very much of this, if any, is actually going to be visible once it's all together. I've put in the 2 front panel pieces and obviously attached the head, so it's all as is. The next stage is going to be some dry brushing. Now I'm going to try some chrome, which hopefully is a light enough colour so it's going to be visible but without being too much. Now if you've not done dry brushing before, this is the fun bit. You need quite a wide brush and some tissue, which I've got the camera zoomed in a bit so you can see what I'm doing and I can still get in there, so hopefully I'm not going to move everything well out of shot. If I do, I apologise in advance. So I'm getting some paint out. This is the Model Air paint, so it doesn't need any more thinning, so I'm actually just getting it out onto a plastic tray rather than a wet palette, so it doesn't last a long time, but I'm not going to be using very much anyway. So I'm going to load up the brush with some paint and then basically remove most of it onto the tissue here until it's hardly coming off at all, just sort of that sort of degree. And then using the edge of the brush and the edge, I'm going to be just sort of lightly feathering it over so it catches the highlights and the corners. Time is the deal here. It takes a long time to put any noticeable amount of paint down, and it feels like you're not actually getting anywhere, but you are. Just keep going. Try and keep it in the same sort of direction so it's only picking up the edges, and hopefully you can see that that's just lightened that edge piece a little bit, say compared to the other one there. Still in camera, yep. And just caused some sort of I hesitate to even call it wear, but it's that sort of thing that you're aiming for. Just get a bit more paint and go for somewhere else where hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit clearer. What should I do? A bit on the shoulder piece. There's a nice big wide open area there. So what we're doing is just picking off the edge, coming in from the edge just that little bit. It's sort of imagining where things would brush up against and cause the paint to rub and wear a bit without it actually being chipping or wear. But you can see on that bit sort of around the edge here compared to the other one, it's just that little bit of lightening, so you can actually see that it's been used, and that will have actually come onto the edge there as well a bit. So I'm going to continue on and do, say, lots of surfaces of this just to make it not so new, basically. And then we're going to put in some like a wash just to gunge it up a little bit on the insides of the works, and that should be that. So I'll get more of this done and show you that when that's completed. That's all the edge highlighting, just sort of the chipping and scratching, not very apparent in this light actually. Let me see if I can get an extra light on. There we go, it's a little bit better for you. So not too much, just bits around edges where it would wear and scratch up. Now the last bit of weathering that I'm doing on the inner frame here is something that actually e-models don't sell, the Citadel Nuln Oil. It's a great easy way of just sort of adding darkening and wear. It's a very thin, almost a wash, but it's very sort of metallic and just sort of adds an extra layer of muck and grime in there, and being that it's a water-based paint, it doesn't matter with the plastic and getting into the joints, as an acrylic wash might cause problems with this. So I am just doing a TED and slapping it on. You really can't go too heavy with it. I'll just do one leg and then we'll be able to compare and contrast the two to show you what sort of effect I'm going for. I may well add some more in-depth localized touches here and there, but equally I might not. So this is all going to be covered by armour anyway. So there we go, you can see from the front there it's obviously just a lot darker. It just sort of blends everything in finally, gets it all as a final look to it. So I'll get the rest of that done and see how it looks, see if I need to add any more, but I'm thinking that's probably going to be it. So I'll show you that when it's done. There we have the inner frame completed. I've gone back over the null oil with a little bit more dry brushing of some chrome onto the edges. It did look just a little bit too dark, so now it looks a little bit more metallic and beaten up again. A bit patchy, as it should be, and that is how I'm calling that. Still articulated, still be moved to wherever it needs to be, to all the joints working as they should, so you can adjust the legs, say into whichever position you need. At the end of this I will be having it in one fixed pose and stuck in place, but for now we can put it however I want, and sometimes it even stands up if you don't get the legs wildly wrong. There we go. Thanks for watching the build. Hope you've enjoyed the inner frame, and come back soon for the armour parts, or at least some of the armour parts. I don't know that I'll get it all done in one video. So as ever, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.